So I'll be using these rocks, that little succulent that I showed you, that's from the Dollar Tree, some spray paint, some pipe cleaners, and a pot. So the spray paint that I'm using is this heirloom white. You can totally use any kind of white that you have. That's the one that I had on hand. And so I spray paint all of the rocks, and I'm also using 3 beads. They're wood beads for these DIYs, and they're all in like a theme of eyeballs. So very inexpensive because the rocks you can either get from your garden or from the Dollar Tree, and everything else is from the Dollar Tree as well. So again, I've spray painted these rocks and I am just going to draw some eyeballs on them. And I'm using a black Sharpie to outline the eye, and then the middle part of the eye I'm also using just a black Sharpie, and then I'm using paint for around the eye. So you can use whatever colors you'd like. I also use a red Sharpie to kind of have like bloodshot eyes. So again, really easy, really simple DIYs. They're not even really DIYs, just kind of like fun little Halloween decor things to do. We're also going to be doing these with my boys, so I thought it would be a nice little thing to add to throughout my home for decor, and I thought I'd share it with you as well. I love to do intricate DIYs as well, like something that's a little bit more in depth, something that's a little bit maybe more creative. But sometimes it's fun just to do something really simple, really quick, and something that you can even do with the kiddos if you wanted to. My kids love painting rocks, so this was a little fun activity that I thought we could do together as well. I wound up doing these myself, but we are doing a set this weekend for they like to have themed decor in their rooms as well. They're very cute. They get right into mummy's decorating and Halloween and all that stuff, so it's really nice to have that with them. So for the paint, I'm using 4 different colors. I'm using 2 different shades of green and 2 different shades of blue. And obviously you can use any colors that you'd like. This is just ones that I decided to go with. I really like the look of them. And what I'm doing is I'm applying the lighter shade of the green, and then I apply the darker shade, and then vice versa, and same with the blue. And the top coat that I apply, I don't wait for the bottom one to dry. I just kind of dab it on so they kind of blend together, and to me they kind of look like eyes then. And I do this for all of the rocks and the wooden beads because I will be using all of them for my decor. So like I said, I'm doing this for each and every one of them. And then except for the few rocks that I leave to draw like bloodshot eyes. So again, I just add a red Sharpie and I kind of do my own little design for bloodshot eyes. You could use paint if you wanted to. I just thought it would be easier with a Sharpie. I did not record myself drawing the veins, like the bloodshot veins for the eyes. So here's just a little clip of what they look like. And then I went ahead and I spray painted this pot. So this will be what I'm going to use some of those eyeballs for. Before I spray painted, I added some hot glue to the sides to make it look like, I don't know, like it was like spilling stuff. I did wind up not doing anything with that, but it just added a bit of texture to the pot. But my idea was that I was gonna spray paint it and then do a little bit of a design. But I kind of did it off, and I should have done it a different way. I should have spray painted it first, and then added the hot glue, and then painted like very lightly with it. But I kind of gave up on that idea midway through. But you can, that's how you kind of add a little bit of texture to your pots if you wanted to. And then I used 4 pipe cleaners. Well, I used 12 of them, but 4 in each of these stems, which these things that I'm creating to make stems for this little pot that I spray painted. And I am just kind of twirling them into one stem so that they're a little bit thicker. You can, if you want it to be a little bit more sturdy, you can add just like a little wooden dowel and wrap them around the wooden dowel and then paint them. It'll make them a little bit more sturdy, but then they will also be kind of straight instead of kind of windy and stuff like that. So then I painted them with some green spray paint, and then I added a little dowel to the bottom so that I could put them in my pot. I only had the wet foam, floral foam, so it doesn't like poke as nicely, so I use that wooden dowel so it wouldn't fall apart. And I just put these in there as best as I could. Then I'm going to be attaching the wooden beads to the top of these so that it looks like instead of the flower, it's an eyeball. And then I wind up, because they're a little bit flimsy, the wooden dowels are obviously heavier than the pipe cleaners. So I'm just wrapping them kind of all together and then making it like a shorter bouquet. You'll see what I mean after I finish doing that. I'll show you what I've done. But you will have to, if you're using kind of floral foam, you might have to do something to poke a hole. So something like a wooden dowel or something a little bit thicker, because the pipe cleaners on their own won't be enough. Just at the bottom though, you don't have to attach it to the top unless you want straight stems. I wanted them to kind of look like crazy flimsy stems. I didn't hot glue the beads onto there because the pipe cleaners were thick enough that I could just put it into the little hole that was in the bead. But if you don't have a hole, or if you want it to be a little bit more secure, you could add a bit of hot glue in there. And then I added some deer moss to the bottom of the pot just to cover that floral foam and cover if there's any of the dowel showing through or anything like that. And I adjusted everything so that it wouldn't be flimsy. And that's all there was to this guy. Really easy, really fun to make, and kind of spooky, but not like super gory, because like I said, my kids are still little, so I don't want to make it too scary. So for this next decor item, I'm not doing much. I'm just adding this green plate. If you have any Halloween themed plates, this would be great too. I thought I had some, but I can't find anything. We did a whole kitchen remodel, so everything is kind of everywhere. So I added just this kind of spooky little, it's a tablecloth, and I just kind of put it all together with a little bit of the fake webbing, and I put the eyeballs on there so it looks like a bowl of eyeballs. They also have these cups at the Dollar Tree that I saw last year. I don't know if they have them this year, that have like, they look like it's a hand holding a cup. They're kind of spooky. You could fill it up with these as well. Just a cute little decor piece. And I live by the airport, so just bear with the noise. Yes, it's a small airport, so it just happens once in a while, but it's pretty loud when it happens. So anyway, here's what it looks like. Great little piece. You can put it on like a console table, a cup of eyeballs, or a plate or a bowl of eyeballs, not eyebrows. My goodness, I cannot talk. Anyway, super easy, this one. As long as once you've painted your eyeballs, that's all there is to it. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to add eyeballs even to my trays and stuff like that. So having these little guys with all the different shapes is kind of neat. And then for the last one, this is like even easier than this one, or just as easy as this one. I just took that little succulent that I showed you at the beginning, and I just hot glued one of the eyeballs onto it. I just kind of picked one that I thought would fit nicest onto the succulent, and instead of having like the middle part of the succulent, it's an eyeball. Again, like a cute little plant theme. It could go great in a tray or anywhere, like if you wanted to make like a little like a trio of these three. If you did it in like a bowl of eyebrows, a little succulent, and a little plant, it's a cute little DIY. So anyway, let me know what you think of these. I thought they were super cute, super easy, very inexpensive to make. Could just be stuff that you have around the house. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment below, and we'll see you next week. I hope. So for this DIY, I'm making a little haunted house using this mini haunted house cutout, some moss, some charcoal, Rust-Oleum chalked paint in charcoal, and then some deco art chalky finish paint in white. And then some of these wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree as well that are kind of like stickers, but I wound up hot gluing them and painting them, and then obviously some hot glue as well. So I start off with just painting the haunted house, and I'm using, as I said, that black paint from Rust-Oleum, so it's a charcoal paint in the chalked finish. And I painted all the way through on the back as well, and then I go over top of it with some of that white paint. And now when I'm painting the haunted house white, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I like to paint things, either dry brush them or paint over top of them, and then I like to blend everything in with a baby wipe. So for this haunted house, for the white part, I'm going to paint the whole haunted house in white, and then I do a little bit of blending with a baby wipe, and to me, it just gives that like a great effect. And that's all there is to the painting of the house, and then I will move on to painting the wood little cutouts. I'm very excited to let you guys know that today's video is a part of the Pinterest DIY challenge, which is hosted by the lovely Sonia over at Domestic Diva DIY. And what we had to do was we had to create DIYs of any theme of our choice that were Pinterest inspired. So mine are all Pinterest inspired, and make sure you head on over to my Pinterest to see all of these inspirations. I have 3 different Halloween boards and a tier tray board, and my ideas were all kind of inspired from pins in those boards. So head on over there if you wanted to see the originals. And there's a playlist, so check that out. It'll all be linked in my description below. Once I paint that and I go over to let it dry, then I go ahead and I paint the bats and ghosts and pumpkins. The bats I'm painting black, the ghosts white, and the pumpkins I'm using orange. I did forget to say that I'm using some pumpkin orange acrylic paint. And I just let everything dry. You only need 1 coat of the dark and the white because the wood is so raw, and you're able to just paint over it really well with 1 coat, and then I go ahead to assemble everything. So really, I just sort of just put any of the shapes wherever I think they would fit best. I'm kind of wanting the ghost to be peeking out through some of the windows as well as around the house, and then I add the bats as well. I thought I was going to add that skeleton head, but decided, yeah, I don't like that. So I just go ahead and I attach these, and I wind up using some hot glue to reinforce it because the little stickies aren't the best. And then I add the moss at the bottom, and that is all there is to this, and it just turned out amazing. So here I have just this wood plank, which has like a little bit of an indent. It almost looks kind of like a square from a canvas if you were to take a canvas off, just very small. And I'm going to use it for the next DIY, and I am making kind of like a shadow box. So I'm actually using the inside of it versus the outside. And I'm going to create like a Halloween scene, which I thought was really cute. Pinterest is full of fantastic ideas. So I'm using this. I happened to find it at the Dollar Tree. I haven't seen them really ever, so this was the first time. But if you can't find something like this, you could easily make this with just a piece of a square block. Now it could be from one of those signs if you cut it off, or sometimes they do have little squares, wood squares that you can buy, and some tumble blocks, and you can make this super easy. So I did show you that I'm using those pumpkins and the little, actually it's a wood cutout that they had for Christmas, and I'm going to use it for this. I'm just cutting off the tree, but the orange and brown acrylic paints I'll be using for the pumpkins just because I find the orange to be a little bit much. But before I do any of that, I am doing the inside of this box, shadow box or plank, whatever you want to call it, and I am painting it in just a black paint. I happen to be using my Rust-Oleum charcoal paint, but you could use acrylic paint. I'm just using that because I have it on hand and I had it out for the other project, so I thought I would just continue on with it. So for the border, I'm just using the part of the brush to dry it off, and then I'm going to be blending it in with a little bit of a baby wipe and just to kind of make it look like it's a lighter shade of black. And then I go ahead, as I mentioned, to cut off the Christmas tree just to give me a little pickup truck that's going to be actually holding some large jack-o'-lanterns versus the Christmas tree. And I do have to paint out the truck, and I'm painting him out in like a combination of orange and black. So I will have all of these displayed on a tray for you at the very end. And if you really want to see how I put trays together and how my trays look for Halloween, I am having an episode come out on the 13th over on my home channel where I'm going to be displaying my tier trays for Halloween. I'm going to try and do the house tour as well before that, after that, but I'm not sure how fast I'll get it done. I have a very, very busy week with family. It is my little guy's 6th birthday, so it's a very busy week, so I don't know what I'll be able to finish, but I will try to have the home tour done next week as well as the porch tour. So if you're interested, make sure you check out my home channel as well. Subscribe there and hit the notification bell so you see more. And if you're not subscribed here, do that as well because I post about it on my community too. So after I have everything painted, I go ahead and I just make the tree that I want the tree to kind of look like there's a shadow and it's kind of spooky. So I'm just using some jute rope for that. And what I'm doing is just separating the top of the jute rope. So it'll be one thicker piece and then a few pieces kind of frayed at the top. And then it's time to assemble everything and finish off the truck. I wind up painting like a moon and some clouds at the top in white, and then I hot glue everything down, and then I just add little touches to the truck and to where they're needed just so that it gives me the look that I am going for. And this is super easy and super fun to do, and if you have a Cricut, you could even cut out these shapes and paint them in, whatever you'd like. And if you can't find, same thing, if you can't find the little truck, you could always use those rubber ornaments that they have at Christmas time, or you could just cut out a truck from cardboard and or cardstock and then just paint it out. Really super easy to do, and the options that are there if you can't find stuff at the Dollar Tree, because I know with ours it's like a hit and miss. If I go back now, I won't ever see these again for the rest of the season, and I happened to just run across them in August. So here it is all finished, and I think it's so cute and kind of spooky. So another even more simple DIY and very cute. I'm using these pumpkins. These are the carvable pumpkins that you can use for so many fall and Halloween DIYs, including some Christmas DIYs, which I will be showing you this month. But if you can pick these up, they're so versatile that you can use them for so much. I suggest you pick them up. So I'm using my Rust-Oleum chalked paint in linen white, and I'm painting my pumpkin out. Now this took 3 coats for it to completely cover. It just had the orange just kept on showing through, so you just do need several coats to cover it, and that's why I use the chalk paint versus acrylic paint, because I didn't want it to use up all of my white acrylic paint for this pumpkin. You don't have to use the chalk paint. You could use any paint that you have on hand, but I like to buy this big gallon, well, not gallon, but this big tin of the chalk paint because it's not a bad deal, and chalk paint dries fast. It has that matte finish, and it's high quality. So I think I would have even needed more coats had I been using acrylic paint. And so all I'm doing with this is I'm painting the pumpkin black, painting the pumpkin white, and I'm painting the stem black, and then I'm using my Cricut to cut out a crow. I got the image off of Cricut Design Space. I just put crow and it was a free image, and then I put the stencil on and I painted in, and that's all there is to it. If you can freehand draw a crow, I tried to do that. It didn't work out for me. So I wound up using my Cricut, but if you can do it, by all means do it. Or if you have like a cutout or anything, or if you can even find an image online and print it and then cut it out and then trace it around and paint it in there, whatever, depending on your abilities. So the only thing to keep in mind if you are using vinyl as your stencil for this is you want to make sure that when you put the crow stencil on, that you're either pushing it down when you're painting or dabbing it really lightly, but you still have to make sure that it's sticking to your pumpkin really well, because the pumpkin is textured and bumpy and it can leak, so you just have to be careful. And then also your vinyl will likely rip off some paint, so you got to go back and put more paint on, or if you cover it in Mod Podge, it probably won't rip the paint off. But just some tips. So here it is all finished. Again, super simple, but it'll look amazing in the tier tray. So these next few DIYs are, again, super simple DIYs. I'm using some of the fall stuff in together with some of the Halloween stuff, and really easy but cute little additions to the tier tray. So for this one, I am using 2 hay bales and these bloodshot eyes, and I am just hot gluing the eyes to the hay bales, and then I'm hot gluing each eye on top of the other and kind of making like an eyeball topiary. Very cute, very Halloween, and really fun. And that's all there is to it. So that's it, and here it is. I love it. I think it's cute and very Halloween. So if you thought the last one was simple, this one is even more simple. What you'll need is a skull, and I had this little pack of skulls in here, and an eyeball, so I'm just using what's left over. And you would just want to make a little hole in your eyeball and a little hole in your skull. You can either use some sort of knife for this. You could also use your glue gun and melt it down a little bit and then cut it out. Up to you. I wound up using just like a little knife to pick out a hole. And then I have these little faux votive candles, like battery operated ones, and I'm just putting these on top of those. And then I have some of the Halloween ribbon that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just wrapping it around the base of the votive candle so that they match, and that's all there is to it. So just look how cute these guys are. They're so cute, and they've got the spook factor because they have that light inside of them, and they'll just look amazing in a tier tray. So I'm back to the hay bales. I love these hay bales. I'm so excited that they came around this year. I've done so much with them for fall and now into Halloween, and I may wind up using them even for Christmas, who knows. But I am just hot gluing a whole bunch together to try and make kind of like a stack of hay like you would have at the farm. And then I will be using those skulls that you saw in the previous DIY, and I'm going to be making kind of like a skull topiary type of thing on top of these hay bales. Really easy, really fun. Now the inspiration was with pumpkins, but I've decided to do skulls, and I've done that a few times throughout this video where my inspiration was a little bit different, but it was my inspiration, and that's where my creativity came in. And I hot glue these together, and then I hot glue the skulls one on top of the other, and again, that's all there is to this one. Again, another really easy one, not too difficult this time around, but still super cute. I did decide to add some of the bones. There was like a pack of bones at Dollar Tree that you could get, and I just added them to the hay bales just to add a little bit of detail. And since I had a bag of bones, I decided to do a stack of bones. And I mean, what's more spookier than a stack of bones on Halloween? So I'm just making kind of a random stack of bones. I'm putting 3 horizontally and then 2 vertically, and then I continue adding as I see fit. And I make my stack of bones. I actually put 3 vertically, not 2 vertically. But anyway, I just continue to do this until I get the height that I was looking for. It just like another cute thing to add to your tray. I'm always looking at different little fillers and different things that you can put in trays, and I thought this was perfect. If you think this is too simple and you're not liking the color of the bones, you could always paint them a different color to make them maybe look a little bit more realistic, but I really liked the kind of dirty, yellowy white kind of color of these bones and skulls and all that, so I left them as they are. To me, they kind of look rustic and more zombie-like, I don't know. Then I wanted to continue on with the spook factor, so I found this image from Whiskey and Wit, and I printed it off. It's from her blog, and I printed it off, and now I'm just cutting it to size so that it fits my frame. And the frame is a picture frame from the Dollar Tree. I thought about adding bones because I had some extra ones around the frame, but I didn't like the way that looked, so I'm just keeping the plain very simple. This is probably even easier than any of the other ones, but I'm taking the back out, putting the little picture in, and that's all there is to this DIY, but it's such a cute little addition to the tray, and I love it. And to go with the Hocus Pocus Broom Company, we need some brooms. So I am making brooms using some of those leftover bones. And I'm just choosing a few different sizes, and then I am using some jute rope for the bottom part of the broom, and I'm hot gluing it, and then I'm also wrapping around some jute rope at the top so it looks like, you know, it's been handmade, the broom. And that's all there is to this one. After I create those brooms, I hot glue them together so they're a stack of 3 so they don't fall over. You don't have to hot glue them, but one is too little, I think, to have unless you have a mini tray. So I thought if I glue them together, it'll look a little bit more substantial. So here they are, and they look so cute and adorable. I love them. This is another simple one. I saw this from the Schwoven's Nest. Sandra had made, but I forget what she made. It was, I think, something for Easter maybe. And she used these wood ornaments as well, and she glued a whole bunch of them together to make kind of like a chunky wood decor piece. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using all but one of these hats that come in a pack of 8, and I am hot gluing them all together, and then I'm going to be painting them in a purple color. Now my purple color is really light, so I just add a little bit of black to it to make it a bit of a darker purple, and then I add some ribbons to cover the hole, and I have a nice chunky little wood decor piece for $1 versus, you know, the 5-6 bucks that it would be somewhere else. And you can see these little chunky wood decor pieces in a lot of the trays that you find on Pinterest. So this is one way that you can make that yourself for probably less than buying it somewhere. So here it is, all completed again. Very, very cute. For this DIY, I'm using these square beads from the Dollar Tree that I'm going to be spray painting in black using the Tremclad spray paint. And I am also using one of the witch's hats that I saved from the package and some jute, not jute twines, yeah, just some twine. And I've painted the witch's hat in purple, and I've attached it to one end of the beads, and then I attached a tassel to the other. I didn't record myself doing the tassel because I had hit record and it didn't record. That's why. A very simple reason. I thought I hit record, but I didn't. I use my phone, so sometimes I'll push the button and then I think it's done it and I don't look. I mean, it's completely my fault for not paying attention, I guess. But anyway, I just wrapped it around a few times around my hand, and then I cut the bottom part. You guys have seen tassels made before. If you would like a tassel tutorial, I can do one for my next DIY. But anyway, I attached that to one end and then the witch's hat to the other, and it's just a cute little addition to the tray. And last but not least, this DIY includes all of the things that you see in the picture, except for the square beads. I used that for the DIY before, but I'm using these jack-o'-lanterns and the cats. They're all the wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree, and I am just I had spray painted the cats black, the jack-o'-lanterns white, and then I'm attaching everything to some twine, and I'm doing white, white bead, black bead, white jack-o'-lantern, then I start with black bead, white bead, black cat, and then I continue until I finish, and then I add some bows to them, and that's it. And the garland is done, and it's cute. Awesome for Halloween. I have it displayed on my fireplace, but like I said, you could use it anywhere. You could, actually, I didn't say that, did I? The reason I had made it is because I thought that you could use it either, like if you have your tray displayed on a round table, you could have it hanging off of there. You could have it kind of like around your tray if you wanted to, or you could have it on your fireplace. So it's not a like a tray decor, but it could be if you wanted it to kind of enhance your tray. That was my thinking for that. I may wind up doing that when I do my home tour, so you might see that if you pop over to my home channel, but if you don't, then I would love to see what you do. So maybe you can share with me over on Instagram. So I do have Instagram and I do have Pinterest. So if you're interested in any of these, all of these were inspired by things that I had found on Pinterest. I have three Halloween boards that you can check out over on Pinterest. Now this sadly concludes all of my Halloween DIYs. I am switching over to Christmas next weekend. As sad as it makes me to be done with Halloween because I love Halloween, I also love Christmas, so I'm really excited to start Christmas. And the Hallmark movies are starting on the 22nd, so I got to start my DIYs as well. I'm sure you know this, but in case you don't, when you are putting the twine through the holes in the beads, some of the holes are smaller than the others, and your rope might fray. So what you want to do is you want to either attach a needle or even like a toothpick or something that you can kind of tie to the edge of the rope, and so you can pull it through. Like I said, I'm sure you know what this is. Even if you just took some tape and you just taped it at the end and then pulled it through, that would work as well. It's just to make it a little bit more firm so you can pull it through. That's all. And I want to thank Sonia for hosting this collab. If you guys don't know, Sonia's my sister, and I think she's pretty amazing. So I love all of her DIYs, not just because she's my sister, but I also think she's pretty talented. So make sure you check out her over at Domestic Diva DIY. She's got a lot of channels. She's got a home channel, cooking channel, DIY channel. She's got a vlogging channel. So check her out. She's really talented and pretty amazing, so make sure to check her out. Check out the playlist. There's going to be lots of inspiration on there. It's all Pinterest inspired DIYs, so it'll be great. And let's get back to this DIY. So here I am just adding some ribbon there from the Dollar Tree that I've just cut into little slits and then tied together and attached to the twine, and here it is all finished. It looks pretty darn cute. So as promised, I will have a display of all of these on a tray, and here it is all lit up in the dark, looking pretty spooky. I'm not sure that it'll stay this way. I just wanted to show you how you could display it, give you some ideas, but I am really loving all of these DIYs. And I've added a little bit of extra fillers in there, like that pumpkin that I DIY'd and the hands from the Dollar Tree and this little skeleton. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you drop by next week for the start of my Christmas DIYs, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment. You guys have been so quiet lately, so make sure you leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. What was your favorite? What did you like? What did you not like? Are you ready to start Christmas decorating yet? Is it too soon? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys and chatting with you guys. and thank you so much. Have a great Okay, to start, I have these 3 jars that I was going to use for a different project, but I wound up not using them for that, and I spray painted them in a white trim clad flat paint. And I'm also using these free printables, which I got from Whiskey and Wit. I will link her blog in my description below. I printed them on the Hippo water slide decal paper, and I've just cut them with leaving like a little bit of a border around them. If you want the full tutorial on how to do this, I will link my video below. I've done a tutorial on them previously. And basically I'm just wetting the decals and I am applying them to these jars, and then I will be writing some text on them. I've decided that I wanted them to say trick or treat, so I am just writing that out in a Sharpie. You could definitely use some vinyl if you have a Cricut cutting machine. I just decided for this I wanted to freehand write it. And because the cat is a little bit bigger, I've decided the cat one to be the or, because that's a smaller word to write down. And then I'm just stuffing them with some Dollar Tree picks, some of the blue dahlias and other florals. And I'm also wrapping some jute rope around the rim of the jars, and I'm doing it about 4 times. Do however much you want. You don't even have to do this. I just thought it would look a little bit nicer. If you use mason jars, you could spray paint the rim to a color of your choice, kind of to match whatever your printables are, and then you could put that around, but I did not use mason jars, so I'm just wrapping some jute rope. So that's about all there is to it. Once I put those floral picks in there, I also added some of the skeleton skulls into the floral arrangement, and that's it. The easiest DIY ever, and it looks so cute, and it'll be a great either mantelpiece decor or in a tray on one of my tables. I haven't decided yet, but here they are all finished. For this next DIY, I'm just using some Rust-Oleum chalked country gray paint and these carvable pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These pumpkins are great because you can do all sorts of things with them. And these little stems just come right off because they're just on a toothpick. And I remove them and I just give these 2 coats of the gray paint. And then I will be stacking them. I got this inspiration from Kirkland's. They have a 4 stack of 4 pumpkins stacked one on top of the other, and I thought it was super cute, so I thought I'd replicate it. Now I'm just using 3. I just thought they're so light, these pumpkins, that it might be too heavy for 4 of them. So once those are painted and dry, I decide to stack them. Now I'm using hot glue to glue them down, but I'm also using just one of those barbecue skewers, the wood ones, to stick them on, and then I kind of do them topsy-turvy. So I put them off to the side and I use that skewer. I've cut it in half and I use it to poke it down so that it kind of goes sideways, if that makes sense. And then I just do that until I get the shape that I want, and I reinforce it with hot glue. Once I have them all stacked, I put back the little stems and I paint them in black. And I do this so that way I can add them back to the pumpkin and have the pumpkin kind of look like it's all wobbly and sideways and kind of crazy looking. And then I cut out a mouth and eyes out of vinyl. Now I wanted all the eyes and the mouths to be different. So you'll see that if you want them to be symmetrical and perfect, by all means either use your Cricut machine or you can trace out shapes. I mean, you can do anything you wanted. This is kind of the look that I was going for. And once everything dry, I also wound up touching it up a little bit too, and then sticking on the vinyl, and that's all there is to this one as well. So again, a super fun and easy DIY for you to do. on a budget. So here it is all finished. I think they look so cute. They kind of look a little bit crazy, and I just love them. They'll look great in my Halloween decor. This next DIY is another super easy one. I'm using a mason jar and one of these solar lights from the Dollar Tree, and I am just painting it on the inside in white, and I'm adding a little bit of water to some chalk paint, and I poured it in and I just kind of twirled it around until I got the color that I wanted. Then I spray painted the top of the solar light in black as well as the rim for the mason jar. And I drew on a ghost face, wrote boo, and that's all there is to this one. And for sure, if you wanted to use your vinyl, you totally could, and it would look awesome. And here it is. I love the way it turned out. I think he's super spooky. For this next one, I'm using the decals again. I'm using the Witch's Starter Pack one. And again, I cut it so that I wouldn't see any of those lines and as close as I could to the edge. And I'm going to put it on a mug. Now, if you wanted to use this as a drinkable mug, I believe you can even bake them in the oven. So that way it sets, or you could put Mod Podge or anything that's kind of food safe. I'm not going to be using it for eating, so I'm just going to be putting it on there, and it'll probably go into one of my trays. And so I just adjust it. Now, what I like about these, if you wet them enough, you can kind of fiddle around with them and get them to be wherever you wanted them to be. Like they're forgiving to a certain extent, but you just have to wet them really well. So anyway, here they are, and then you want to move when you're taking the excess water off. Don't press too hard like I did with this paper towel. You just want to do it lightly from the center out so that way you don't move it or wrinkle your paper. But that's all there is to it. They're so easy to use, and I think they look really great. So here it is all finished. I didn't display it in a tray. I will do that a little bit later on. I just wanted to show you what it looks like on its own. For this next one, I just have a scrap piece of wood. You could definitely use one of the signs from the Dollar Tree. Just be careful if you're going to use it outside. Um, that sign may fall apart because it's just like chipboard or pressboard, so it's kind of like paper. So I'm using just some pressure treated wood that I'm going to stain. I think it's pressure treated, or it could just be from a pallet. It was from the garage. It was just a scrap. It was where the pressure treated stuff was, but I'm not sure that it is. But anyway, I'm going to be putting a little bit of this Rust-Oleum decorative glaze just to give it like a stain. And then I'm going to be making it a sign. Now, I haven't decided whether I'll keep this underneath like where my deck is, my covered deck, or if I'm going to put it out front. If I put it out front, I'll have to protect it somehow with some varnish. But if you have a covered porch, you don't have to do any of that. So then I just picked a font that I liked from Cricut. I will link the font name in my description below. And I found a free broom image from Cricut Design Space. And I cut them out using my Cricut. And now I'm going to just dab on some white paint onto them. Always use a transfer paper when you're transferring vinyl like this. Otherwise it'll stretch too much and it won't look very nice. I did weld all of the letters so that way it would all look good. And when you are dabbing on the paint, make sure you tap off the excess paint so that way not too much goes through, otherwise it'll bleed. And here it is all finished. I really love the way it turned out. It's so super cute. Now, because I was going to hang this up outside, I decided to make some brooms with the boys. I couldn't find the little fake brooms at the Dollar Tree or our Dollarama this time around, so we collected some sticks and kind of wrapped them around with jute rope around some bigger sticks to make our little brooms. I mean, they're just whatever fun little things me and the boys did, and here's what our brooms look like. So I might put them out, I might not. I haven't decided yet, but that's what they look like. Okay, the next one is another fun one that I wanted to put for an outdoor decoration. So I have tomato cages that I'm using. I'm using 3 of them. And I have some floral foam, and I'm going to be making some witches. So I need some Dollar Tree buckets. Now, these are just the trick-or-treat buckets that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree or Dollarama. They were $1.25 each, and this is going to be her waist. So you want to put it on the spiky edge of the tomato cage. The thing with these is the video that I watched and the inspiration that I got, she used those round pumpkin trick-or-treat buckets, but I haven't been able to find those. I think they do have them maybe at Lens Mill or Walmart, but they're quite expensive. So I didn't want to spend $4 or $5 on each because, times 6, because that's how many you need altogether. That would be quite a bit of money, and then I might as well just buy the witches already made. So anyway, I'm creating 3 of these using, like I said, these trick-or-treat buckets and some garbage bags. So once you have that bucket attached, you do want to put, if it doesn't quite fit like mine, you want to put something like floral foam and some hot glue to make it stand up straight. Then you put a garbage bag over top and get some jute rope and tie it around her waist, just kind of below the bucket. And then you're going to use another bucket to put on top. You want to hot glue that bucket. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm not going to put them out until about a week before Halloween because we do sometimes get snow here. It gets cold. It gets very weird around Halloween time. So I will put them out then. I will have to attach some spikes to them, to the bottom, so they don't blow away. But it depends on what your climate is. But anyway, I'm using 3 different colors of the top bucket. So I'm using a green, orange, and a purple one. My son was watching me edit the video and he got very excited that it's going to be Halloween soon. So anyway, you attach that and then you attach your hat. You're going to need 3 different hats. I found these at Dollarama. They were $2.50 each, which I was hoping to find them at Dollar Tree, but our Dollar Tree didn't have them. So kind of, some ideas. Maybe you can find them for cheap and, make this nice, cute little decoration. Now I picked up some flashing lights from Dollarama as well. They were $1.25. I think Dollar Tree has them too. So I'm only hot gluing a part of the hat to the one side, and I've stuffed the top of the hat with just some bags so that way the hat sticks up. And the reason I'm not hot gluing the whole thing is because I will be turning them on nightly, so I want to be able to turn them on and off. And in order to do that, you have to be able to get in. So I'm just hot gluing one part of it and the other part I'm leaving loose. We'll see how it holds up in the wind. So please don't mind the mess in the craft room. It is a disaster. I had bought some Christmas and Halloween stuff and I think I'm done buying, but I haven't had a chance to put it away. But anyway, I will be tying the witches together using just a garbage bag that I've cut in half, and I'm going to tie it in the middle. So that way the witches it looks like they're holding hands when I tie them together. And I'll have a cauldron out as well. I will have a Halloween front porch and house tour up. And if I don't have these up by the time I do the Halloween front porch, just because I plan on putting these out kind of a week before Halloween, I will post it on Instagram. So make sure you check it out there. So here they are all lit up outside. I really love the way they look. I think they're awesome, and my boys got all spooked by them because I did this at night while they were sleeping and they thought they were so cool. Now, as you did see from the title, this video is a a part of the Heidi Sample DIY challenge. If you have not had a chance to check out this challenge, make sure you check it out. There's some amazing inspiration on here. Check out Heidi's channel. She is one talented lady. I will have her information linked in the description below, as well as the playlist. This playlist is going to be awesome. The theme was fall or Halloween, sorry, Thanksgiving or Halloween. So lots of great inspiration in there. Mine was all Halloween, but so anyway, make sure you check everything out. It'll be linked in my description below. And here they are without a flash, just so you could kind of see what they look like. With the head, it looks like floating heads. It's kind of, I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, I love them. But I'm biased. So anyway, on to the next DIY. This one is another spooky one. It's for outdoors again, and I'm using 4 of these laundry baskets from the Dollar Tree. And I've cut the top of the baskets off, and I just cut it around the rim just so you could see. And I will be spray painting them in a flat black from not from Restore, it's from Tremclad. And to cut them off, I just use my miter shears, and to spray paint them, I just use that spray paint. And once I've spray painted all of them and they dried, I'm going to attach them together and attach the chains. I'm also using 3 chains from the Dollar Tree. To attach the chains, I'm going to do kind of a combination of 2 things. I'm going to hook them on because they have little slits, and I'm going to attach them with some zip ties. And then I'm going to attach the baskets, the 2 baskets together, one on top of the other, also using zip ties, but I'm going to leave a little bit open because I want to be able to put the skeleton animals from the Dollar Tree in there. So it kind of looks like I've captured some animals in there. And again, the spook factor. And these will just be hanging outside. I have one of those planter hanger things, so I'll be hanging them on those. Again, a really simple and inexpensive DIY, and again adds to the spook factor. When you're placing the baskets one on top of the other, you're just going to have to play around with it to make sure that they kind of line up. And it's up to you how much, whether you want to push it down a little bit more or you want them to kind of stay up, but just use zip ties. I'm using black zip ties so you can't see them, to tie them together. And then I am tying the 2 baskets together with a chain, but I'll do that outside and you'll see the picture. I really do apologize for the wonky angles, but I wanted to show you how I attached the chain, and then I wanted to show you where I put the animals. I did hot glue the rat to the bottom, and then the bat I had hanging up from the top of the basket, and I hot glued his little hands to the top as well. But these are really hard to record. I don't have that much space in there to record this where you can see it properly, unless I was doing it on the floor, but my back will go if I try to do it on the floor. But I just wanted to kind of give you some of these ideas, and hopefully you can see enough that you can understand how I made these. And then so you can see the rat there, and that's where I was telling you you'll have to kind of fiddle around with to try and get it to get in there. And once you get it to sit one on top of the other the way you want it, then you just want to close it up with your zip tie. You might have to cut one of the slits just a little bit so that way it gives. But other than that, that's all there is to it. It's really, really easy. So pretty spooky stuff here, and I love, love, love the way they look. They'll even look cooler when it's like not so sunny outside and a little bit cloudy. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video and got lots of inspiration, lots of stuff that you can make here for very cheap. And so for this first DIY, I'm going to be making kind of like a Halloween pumpkin topiary. So this here is my inspiration for what I'm going to be making, and hopefully I nailed it. So I'm using this wooden pumpkin from the Dollar Tree and I'm just going to paint it out in black. Now I am using Rust-Oleum chalk paint in charcoal black. I just love the way this looks. It's a nice matte finish and it dries fast and a little goes a long way. So I just paint the whole piece in this color. So again, I will need 3 pieces. So this is one of the pieces that I'm using. So for the second part of the topiary, I'm going to be using these 2 wooden pieces from the Dollar Tree. They're wooden pumpkins. One is just a plain pumpkin and the other one is the same pumpkin as before. Now I do want this to be the larger piece, so I'm combining both and I like the texture of the top one, so I do want to add it to this as well. And I will be painting out this in orange, but I do add a little bit of brown and black acrylic paint because the orange acrylic paint that I have is really strong and bright, so I just want to dull it down a little bit. So before I paint it, I do go ahead and I scrape everything off that needs to be scraped off, and I glue the pieces together. The first time I try to glue them, hot glue them, I did not line up the stems, so I have to line up the stems and that way they line up nicely. I will wind up cutting the stems off, but I didn't want to do that until I put the whole topiary together. So once this piece is done, I go ahead and I use this metal pumpkin from the Dollar Tree again. This, I only saw this year and I really liked it. I was going to make something different with these, but I just didn't get a chance to, so I thought I would use it for this DIY. And again, it has that texture that the other 2 pieces have, so I thought the top having even a little bit more texture would be really nice, but I wasn't a fan of the yellow, so I do wind up painting over the yellow parts, well, the entire piece, and just this warm white from the Dollar Tree. It's just an acrylic paint. It's like an antique white almost. Now this piece did come with a bit of a stem, so I wound up cutting that off with some wire cutters and kind of ripping it off too. It's just hot glued on there, so it's not too hard to rip off. So once that's dried and painted and dried, oops, I go ahead and I assemble the topiary. So now here's where I'm trying to see how I'm going to put them together, what I need to cut off, what I need to add, where I need to cut it off. So I decide that I'm going to, again, cut that stem off. So I go ahead and I do that. And I just have these miter shears that are really good for doing stuff like this. And they're pretty easy to cut with these. And then I hot glue the black pumpkin on top. Now, the only tricky part of all of this, now you probably didn't even have to cut that off. You could have just hot glued on there, but I might use that little orange for something else. So I always kind of, if I can save little bits and pieces, I always save them. So anyway, I hot glue that onto the bottom piece. The tricky part was the top piece because it was metal and hot gluing metal is quite hard. So I kind of had to get creative with that. So originally I thought I could glue back the pick and just have it kind of stick to the pick, but it didn't work. So then I went ahead and I just stuck some paint stir sticks onto the back, and then I was able to glue the top part. The two tricks with this was it was the metal and also the texture in the bottom pumpkin and the fact that this one is a little bit curved. So it was hard to get it to be the same level as the other ones and have it kind of stick nicely. So by gluing that paint stir stick, I was able to have a place to attach it at the top and a place to attach it at the bottom. Hopefully when you see it, it makes sense. Now to make sure that it sticks completely, I did tie a little bit of floral wire around the top, so just where the stem was and where the stir stick met the stem. And then I just kind of painted over top in some black just to hide the floral wire and a little bit of the stir stick that was showing. You could use weld bond and this would also probably stick to it right away, but I thought this way it just won't move at all. So then I slid it over top of the stem and I hot glued it at the stem and at the bottom in two spots just to make sure that it really sticks. And that's all there was to assembling the topiary. And then I had to add a base so that the topiary would stand on its own. So for the base, I just kind of measured out, as you can see here, it's not the best angle, but I kind of measured out how many tumbling blocks I needed. And then I glued them all together and I painted them black and orange. And I just hot glued them. I'm using Gorilla Glue, so I'm hoping that the hot glue sticks. If you wanted a more permanent hold and to be sure that it would stick forever, then you can use some Gorilla Glue or E6000, whichever permanent glue that you have, and kind of do a combination of hot glue and that glue. But I was going to try this and see how it went. And so far it's been holding up okay. I've had it for about a week made and it hasn't come apart, so I think we're good. So I glued 5 pieces together lengthwise for each side. And then I just glued them to the base of the pumpkin. And after seeing it completed, I saw that I wanted to add a little bit more to the pieces. So I went ahead and I added some black acrylic paint to the orange and white pumpkins to add a bit more texture and depth. So because I am using the small tumble blocks, they weren't quite strong enough for this topiary. So just to do a single layer. So then I wound up adding a whole bunch at the back. Now, if you use bigger ones, you won't have to add as many, but just a little bit more to make it stand so it doesn't fall over. And then the pumpkins needed to be Halloween, not just kind of fall colored. So I have these spiders that I got. Well, this one is from my kids' spider collection. They said they didn't want this one, so I spray painted him black. He was red. And then I also added some of the spiders from the Dollar Tree that were on little clips, and I hot glued them to the pumpkin. So here's the finished topiary with all of the spiders and all of the scary stuff. Love it. I'm so in love with this piece. It's going to look great in my Halloween decor. Let me know what you think of this one. The next dupe, my colors are a little bit different, but I think I nailed this one too. For this dupe, I'm actually using this sign from the Dollar Tree just for the welcome because I couldn't find the metal welcome words this time around. I did actually find them after I made this DIY, but anyway. And this little pumpkin sign as well from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to, basically this is the easiest DIY ever. I'm going to take that welcome sign off, give it a little bit of a coat of paint, and I'm going to give this guy a coat of paint, add some ribbon, and that's it. But it's a really cute little Halloween. It could be for a tray, it could just be a little sign, whatever you wanted it to be. So for the paint, I am using the Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal paint, chalked paint in charcoal. And I'm using this paint because, again, as I said, it dries fast, it gives me that matte color, and I think it looks great with purple, and I'm adding purple accents. So the welcome sign, I wanted it to be purple, but the only purple that I had was a really light purple from the Dollar Tree, so I added a little bit of black into it just to make it a bit darker. And I'm not fully covering it, I just wanted it to kind of have like a purple metallic look, if that makes sense to you. So I did 2 coats of it, but again, they were kind of very light coats, so you still have a little bit of that metal shining through. So I wind up hot gluing this welcome sign, and I want it to be kind of diagonal a little bit on to the pumpkin, and then I use some Halloween ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I cut it into strips, and then I hot glue it so it looks like a little bow at the top. And then I also add a spider, and it was one of the spiders from the Dollar Tree that came on the clips. And so here is the finished piece. Like I said, really simple but very cute little DIY. Again, you could use them in a tray, you could use them as a piece of decor, really up to you, but I love the way he turned out. This guy isn't as big as the original. I think I nailed him too. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. This is another great dupe because I am using this mason jar from the Dollar Tree. It came during, I believe this is the Canada Day one, and I bought it at that time. I bought it because I love the shape of it, so I bought a few of them thinking that I might be able to use them for Christmas as well. I was going to do one more fall using these, but I just ran out of time. So there's just so much time, so only so little time that I can do these DIYs, and I try to do as many as I can, but sometimes you just don't have the time. So anyway, I'm using this, and to me, it kind of looked like a skull if you flipped it over. So I thought this would be perfect for this dupe. Now, this skull is, I was going to use a skull because the Dollar Tree has the skull cutouts, but I thought I had purchased it, but I guess I didn't. I looked and I couldn't find it unless one of the kids took it and it's in their playroom. I didn't look in their playroom. But anyway, I may do with this mason jar. So I mean, it's a good idea if you have these hanging around and you can reuse them. Why not? Because we all have so many craft supplies, and well, a lot of us do. So if you can use them or reuse them, it's great. So I'm just cutting off the top to make it a little bit more rounded, and I'm using that pumpkin form, the metal one, to create the top of the head. And just to create a curve, you could do it freehand however you want to. And then because of my injury in the summer, I still had a hard time cutting this. So I had my husband actually cut this out, so I don't have a recording of that, but he just used an X-Acto knife to cut it out, but you just needed to press a little bit more, and I just didn't have the strength in my arms to push and cut. So once that was cut, I wound up just painting the jar or the skeleton in a chalked white paint from Deco Art. It's that little small bottle that you can see in the corner. And I painted it all. I just did one coat because I wasn't doing the side with the Canada Day decals on them. I just did the other side. So after I painted it, I'm measuring out for the hat because I want it to kind of sit on top of his head. I'm using these wood planks from the Dollar Tree. They were, I believe, in a pack of, it'll show in a second, in a pack of 8, no, 6, and for $1.25, and I'm gonna use 3 of them. So then I'm just cutting out the hat so that it fits the head, just kind of drawing a little curve because I wanted to kind of sit, but I want it to sit upside down. So it kind of fits the head, but I wanted the hat to be flipped upside down. You'll see what I mean. And again, I'm using my miter shears to cut this and the X-Acto knife just to kind of help where the cut was and where I couldn't get with it. My husband wound up having to help me a little bit. And then I just used my X-Acto knife just to kind of scrape it down so that it was nice and smooth. So I wound up playing around with his hat. I thought I was going to make it this wide, so I added one of these garden picks from Dollarama to make it this wide, and then I wound up taking that pick out and making it less wide. But I'll show you kind of what I did to attach them at the back too, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I did there. I do, like I said, wind up removing that middle piece, but I paint everything black in acrylic black paint. And before I painted, the reason I'm adding these things to the back is so that it's nice and sturdy and it doesn't kind of move around and fall apart. And like I said, I painted it with acrylic black paint. No, I'm not using acrylic black paint, excuse me. I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal paint, and I paint it in black, and then I just do an outline of it with a dry brushed white. And again, it's that Deco Art white chalk paint. And there it is, another bloop of mine. I don't even know what I was doing. I was about to draw, and then boom, I spilled all of my paint because I left it open. It got on my feet, on my legs, on the floor, and somehow I wound up having it in my hair too. Anyway, thought I'd leave it in there because, I am accident prone. So then I just used a pencil and I just outlined what I wanted him to look like. Now I freehanded this. I kind of looked at a picture of a skeleton and kind of drew my inspiration from there. You can definitely use your Cricut and make it be really perfect and really straight. It's totally up to you. This is just my interpretation of the dupe. So this is the amazing part of making your own DIYs. The world is your oyster. You can get as creative as you'd like. And then I use a Sharpie just to outline everything in black, and then I paint in the eyes and the mouth and the nose. Once I paint everything, I add a little bit of dry brushed black to the entire piece, and then I cut strips of orange ribbon from the Dollar Tree to give him a little bow. So once this was all done, I wound up attaching the hat, and I just hot glued the hat to the top. And I unfortunately don't have footage of this. I just added a little row of black tumble blocks at the bottom, just tumble blocks that I painted in black. It doesn't really hold it up. It's more for decor. If you want it to hold up, then you kind of want to do like a square at the bottom because it is a heavier piece just because of those planks, and the jar itself is heavier. But here's what he turned out like. I'm going to say I sort of nailed this one because I did not add the LED lights. Not that I couldn't have, but my arm is not strong enough to try and cut this, and I didn't want to involve my husband to try and carve out the mouthpiece. You could probably do it. The wood is thin enough that I think with an X-Acto knife you could do it, but it's like I said, it wasn't something that I wanted to bug my husband on. So, and because my arm is still not 100%, I can't be pushing that hard. So I left the LED lights out of there, but what you could do is add the LED lights, like just little candle lights from the Dollar Tree, put them in the back and just cut out the mouth, and that'll create that for you. And you could get another piece and, close it all in and have it closed in and have the LED lights be in there too. So the options are there, and this gives you an idea. And again, I'm using one of these pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and again I'm painting it in the pumpkin orange and then going over top of it with some espresso and some black paint. And all I do is I just add them on and then I kind of wipe them off with a baby wipe. I love using the baby wipe to blend in the colors. It just does such a great job. And after that's done, I have this hat from the Dollar Tree. It is a wooden witch's hat. It was again one of those wood cutouts that the Dollar Tree has. And I'm painting this one out in black to use as his hat. Once that is completed, again, I freehand draw his face. I'm just using a ruler to make sure that I'm putting it in the same at the same eye level, and then I do his nose and his mouth. Again, you could use your Cricut for this and it would be really perfect. Mine is not perfect, but I love him nonetheless. Once I finish that, I attach his hat. I kind of toyed with the idea of putting it on sideways, but I'm happy with it being straight up. You could again do whatever you'd like. And then I just attach the bottom pieces for it to stand up on its own. And again, I'm using those tumble blocks because they're just great to use. And they're so inexpensive and they go such a long way. Like you can use them for some, they're so versatile. I guess that they go such a long way, but they're so versatile. And all I'm doing is I'm using 4 of them for the bottom piece, and then I wind up adding another piece at the very bottom to kind of, another 2 pieces to kind of make it stand up kind of so it's a square piece that they're on top of. And I paint them in black and hot glue everything together, again using that Gorilla hot glue. And here's what he looks like. And here's the final dupe. I really like the way mine turned out too. So let me know what you think. Mine was 100% almost cheaper. It only cost about $1.50 to make. And so here's my last Kirkland's dupe. This is like almost not even, it's just such an easy dupe. So all I'm doing is I've got some branches from the garden that I just picked up. We had a nice windstorm, so I had tons of branches. And I have this little crate from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spray paint both in that Tremclad black, flat black paint. And once I do that, I assemble the pieces together. So I was closing that paint because even after the spill, I still hadn't closed it. But anyway, so I'm going to put some floral foam into the crate, and then I'll add some rocks on the top just to hide it. And then I'll put the branches in, and then I'll put the rocks over top to hide the little floral foam. And then I attach some spiders to this. I wanted to attach little birds, but I couldn't find them, so they didn't have them at the Dollar Tree. And they had the wood bats, but they weren't big enough, so I just used these little spiders. And again, it's those ones with the clips on them, but I took the clips off and I hot glued them. And that's all there is to this one. The rocks actually serve 2 purposes. They keep the piece from toppling over because the branches are so tall, and they hide the floral foam. And here it is completed. I really like the way it turned out. It's very cute. It's very kind of spooky, but yet very simple. And I left the spiders purple because I thought they would just add a little pop of color, and I'm loving the purple and the black together this year. So thank you again for watching, and you made it to the end. It was a longer video today. I hope you enjoyed my Kirkland's dupes. Here they are again all together. I think they're going to look fabulous in my home decor, and they were definitely cheaper than what the costs of some of these were. So awesome all around. Thank you so much. Leave me a comment below letting me know what you think, and give me a big thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. For today's video, I'm going to be creating a shadow box using this haunted house from the Dollar Tree and just a scrap cardboard box from actually a box of tomatoes. So to start off, I'm going to be painting the inside of the box orange. I have this orange acrylic paint that I bought at the Dollar Tree. It was the only one that they had, so that's the one that I'm using. So you can just see what the shade of orange is in there. And I'm just going to cover the box so that you can't see the cardboard on the inside. I thought I was going to do another coat of the orange, but after it dried, I liked the coverage, so I left it. Now you could totally do a darker orange if you had it. It's whatever you have on hand, but this is what I had, and it covered it fine. I do wind up using a bit of a baby wipe just to blend all of the colors together. Not a bit of a baby wipe. I use a baby wipe to blend the orange to the cardboard, as you can see that I'm doing here. After this dries, I go ahead and I deal with the outside of the box, and I use black paint for the outside of the box. But before I go ahead to paint that, I want to paint my haunted house, which I'm also painting black, and I'm just using a Dollar Tree acrylic black paint to do this, and I'm using the just a Dollar Tree brush to paint on the black paint. I only need to do one coat. It's easy coverage. It's a dark color and a light color, so super easy to do. Then for the sides of the box, I'm not doing the back of the box, but for the sides of the box, I'm using just leftover black house paint that we had on hand. That little sample there that you can see, it's a bare black paint, but it could be anything you wanted. I just didn't want to use up all of my acrylic paint because I'm running low. Now I wound up doing a little bit of the black kind of seeping into the orange on the inside, just to give it kind of like a spookier look. And once everything dried, I cut out this tree just from black cardstock, and I just drew it out with my like freehand. And then I had these foam cats and bats and owls just left over from different projects. And then I went ahead and I used, because I only had a purple bat, I wound up cutting it out from one of the cats, just doing my own bat, and I wind up hot gluing these onto the box. So I'll show you what I do. After those are cut out, I wind up just assembling the shadow box and seeing how I like it before I glue everything on. So this is what you should do before you glue things on as well, just to make sure that this is the look you're going for. I'm using hot glue, so it's not permanent, so I could take it off, but sometimes it takes the paint off, so then you just have to redo it. So make sure you're happy with what you're putting on before you glue it down. And after I've glued that down, I go ahead and I place some lights into the shadow box. These are the mini lights from Dollar Tree. They were $1.25. I'm in Canada, so everything's $1.25, with the copper wire. And I put them on the inside of the box through that little hole that you could see at the bottom there. I put the cable through there, and then that way the on and off switch is easily accessible behind the shadow box, and then you can't see it on the inside of the shadow box. I'll show you what I mean next. So here's what I mean by putting it through the hole, so that way it doesn't, you can't see the on and off switch, but it's still easily accessible. I did wind up moving the owl. Now the owl was a self-stick one, so it was easy to remove off of the branch. And I love the way this looks. My kids said it was spooky, so it's a win-win. For today's video, I am going to be recreating this boo sign from the Dollar Tree. This was $1.25, as I'm in Canada, so things are $1.25 here at the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the sign in two different color, two different styles, and then the middle I'm going to wrap some jute rope on it. And I'll show you what I'm doing. So first I start off with painting the bee in this acrylic black. I'm not going to show you the entire, like all the steps of painting, but I'm going to paint it black, and then the bottom I'm going to paint a silver color, and then I'll show you how I finish them off. So the black, I'm just making sure it covers, and same with the silver. You won't see me painting the last O silver and the exclamation mark, but you'll see once I start to decorate them what I mean. So unfortunately, because I wasn't recording myself painting the silver, I also missed recording myself putting on the jute rope. So what I did is I used my glue gun and jute rope from the dollar store to wrap it around the O. So I just put one end down, put glue on, and then slowly wrapped all the way around until I got all of the pieces, all of the whole O covered. I then went ahead and I added some warm white, some champagne, as well as, no, sorry, cashmere, as well as some black, and I mixed those. Well, I didn't mix them, I put them all in the bowl, and then I just kind of went and dry brushed or lightly brushed the bee with those colors. I wanted it to look kind of like a Halloween, dark night, cloudy sky type of effect, and I think I achieved it. So you'll see the end result there. After I achieved the look of my bee, I moved on to the O, and for the O, I was trying to achieve a galvanized look, and so I used warm white, black, silver, a little bit of blue, and I just kind of kept on dabbing and dry brushing until I achieved the look I was going for. I can't tell you really what the steps are for me to achieve the color. I just kind of keep on going until I get what I was looking for. So I started off with the silver base, then I added black. I dabbed some black on it, then I dabbed a bit of the warm white. Then I didn't like the way it was looking, so I went back and I put some of the blue, and then I still didn't like it, so I went back, put the black, and I just kept on going until I achieved the look, and it really is up to you. I also wound up using a little bit of that cashmere too, because I wanted it to be kind of like galvanized, but kind of old galvanized steel, so if that makes any sense. If I found it to be too wet or too much of something, I also dabbed it off with a paper towel. And again, I just kept on doing it until I achieved the look I was looking for. Here you can see a mix. So what I did was I wound up mixing all those colors together. I had them separately in the bowl, and then I mixed them together, and I put that on, and I dabbed that onto the O. And then like I said, I still wasn't happy, so I added a bit more black, and then I added a little bit more white. So this video is a part of a challenge. It's a monthly challenge hosted by Elena Jenkins DIY. And this month it's called the Fall Inspired DIY Challenge, and this month it was the Inspired Fall or Halloween DIY Challenge. And she is co-hosting with Linda from Faith Chick 77's DIY by Design. So if you haven't checked out their channels, make sure you check them out. They're very talented ladies, and I'll have their channels linked in my description below. As well, make sure you check out the playlist because there'll be some really fun DIYs. The inspired part comes from anywhere where you found like whether it be Pinterest or anywhere else, anything that inspired you and you wanted to recreate, you could do for this challenge, and it just had to be a fall or Halloween theme. So this is my inspiration. It's not identical, but this is kind of what inspired me to how to design mine. So this is my take on this one. This was a sign sold by Kirkland's, I believe. So it wasn't, and maybe someone's recreated on YouTube, I'm not sure, but this one was for sale at Kirkland's. So after doing a couple of minutes of this dabbing on and off, I wound up coming up with this look, and I'm really, really happy with it. So let me know what you guys think. So today's project was a quick project, but I think it turned out really nicely. You could add a bow to the top if you wanted and hang it up as a wall hanging, add it to a wreath. I will likely be using this in my tiered tray, just standing up on its own. I'm really, really, really happy with the way it turned out. I think it's a cute little sign. Again, it was quick, it was inexpensive to make, and it's something anyone could do. And I love that the Dollar Tree has these nice wood letters. I just think they're so fantastic. So again, if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that big like button, hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more. So for today's video, I'm going to be making three different DIYs. The first one is using these Dollar Tree pumpkins. I got them for $1.25 each, and I actually just realized that these pumpkins only come out at least at our Dollar Tree at Halloween because they're carving pumpkins. So I didn't know that. I was looking for them for, almost a month when they had all their other fall stuff. So I'm just going to be painting them black I had some leftover house paint, so I'm just going to be using that to paint these pumpkins black, just because I didn't want to use up all of my acrylic paint, but you could totally use acrylic paint. I don't have a lot of it, and I needed it for the other project, so I didn't want to use it up. And I'm going to do 2 coats of the black on here, and I'm just letting them dry on skewers. I have long skewers, and I've just put them in there so that way they dry nicely. So after the 2 coats, you can see that I've taken the tops off. I'm now just going to stick them on. I was going to use hot glue to stick them on, but I'm going to use skewers. But before I do that, I'm using these chalk markers to write trick or treat. So trick on one or on the other and treat on the third one. Now I just measured, the pumpkins have like a crease down the middle, so I measured from each side how much I needed for my letters, and that's how I made sure that they would be kind of positioned or like the same width and same size. Positioning is easy because I decided to put them on skewers, so you can just turn them whichever way you need to make them even. And then I on the other side I wrote boo, so that depending on I'm not sure where I'm going to display them, so if I display them somewhere where you can see the back, then you can see boo and trick or treat, or depending on my mood or what I want to. Sometimes I like to surprise my kids, so in the morning they'll wake up one day, it'll be trick or treat, the next day boo, and they'll find it amazing. And once everything was dry, including the chalk writing, I put them on one on top of the other, and I saved one of the stems that I had taken off at the beginning of the video, and I painted it just white using that Rust-Oleum chalked linen white that you can see in the frame. and put everything together, and that was my pumpkin topiary. So really easy DIY and very cheap, cost me $3.75. So my next DIY is a super fun DIY as well. I have these pieces of wood that were left over from a different DIY project. It's actually from the doors that I made, well, that we made, my husband and I, on our built-in shelves. So I will be painting these doors, or sorry, these little pieces of wood out different colors, and I'm going to be making a little boo sign. Originally, I was going to do Happy Halloween, but because the sign was too big, I couldn't use that. So I just used these wooden letters from the Dollar Tree that just say boo. And I'm painting two of the boards white because I'm going to have a mummy, a Frankenstein, and a ghost. So for the mummy and the ghost, I'm painting them white using the Rust-Oleum chalked linen white. I must say this paint has gone a long way for me. I've had it for several projects, and I still have some. I painted two fireplaces, built-in shelves, um, a cabinet, a whole bunch of DIYs. This has gone a really long way. For the green, I'm just using just a green acrylic paint that I got at the Dollar Tree. I was using it for a different project, so it was perfect that I had it left over. And I'm painting this guy green and leaving those two guys white. Now I'm only drawing faces on these, so I'm not going to use my Cricut to cut them out. I'm just going to freehand draw them in a pencil and then go over them with a Sharpie. And I also go over them with a chalk marker for some of the white because I needed white and I didn't want to use full-on paint. I do wind up using paint for Frankenstein's hair just because it's a big chunk of black to use, so I just used some of the acrylic paint I had left over. And you can make these faces however you want. This is how I envisioned them. I've seen these types of pictures on Pinterest quite a bit, so that was my inspiration. But again, a super easy, super quick DIY, and it cost me $3.75 because it only cost me those letters, so a cheap DIY too. I wound up connecting the boards as well so that I could make one solid sign, and I'll show you what I did there. For the mummy, I wind up wrapping it in toilet paper. I thought I had some gauze, but didn't have enough, so I just used toilet paper, which made the project the price that it was, and just did the trick. I glued it with some permanent glue just so that the toilet paper would stick. You could use hot glue as well. I'm assuming it would hold the paper fine. So just up to you. I just happened to have this on hand, and my hot glue gun wasn't warm yet, so I used that. Once my sign part was done, then I go ahead and I paint the boo letters in the leftover acrylic back paint that I used for the design. And I do everything, I don't do both sides, I just do the inside and the outside and let that dry. Then I will connect the board. So then once all the details were done, what I wound up doing was putting a little board at the bottom, well, kind of near the bottom of the sign, and screwing it in after I glued all the pieces together using hot glue and permanent glue. And they were glued together, and then because I used the hot glue, I was able to do the other side right away. I screwed in the other piece, and then I hot glued and permanent glued the boo at the bottom. And the boo at the bottom acts as a little bit of a stand because it's a bit thicker. So it provides a bit of stability for the sign to stand on its own. So I wound up removing this little piece and again putting it at the bottom and then putting another piece at the top just to hold it together. And if you're not sure, the reason I'm doing the combination of both the hot glue and the E6000 is because then it'll provide that permanent hold right away. Well, it'll provide that hold right away, and then the permanent glue provides a permanent hold. So that way I can put the sign and don't have to worry about pressing it down with something to hold everything in place. So once I glue everything down, I just do a little bit of a touch-up using some white paint because some of the black from the boo brushed off onto the sign. It's just because it wasn't quite dry. I thought it was, but clearly it wasn't. So this project wasn't as quick as the other one, but still fairly quick and really easy to do and a lot of fun. I think this is such a cute little sign. So on to the next project. So for the next project, I'm making another little sign, but it's kind of more like a directional sign. I've seen tons of these on Pinterest, so I thought it would be really cute to make. I'm using just leftover scrap pieces of wood. So I was going to use this for different projects. I had a whole bunch of hot glue on here, so I'm just scraping it off with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to be painting these little sticks as well as that little piece of wood in black. The little sticks I'm going to glue together with hot glue and permanent glue to make a post, and I'm going to glue that post to the bottom base, and that'll be the base and post for my sign. For the parts that show which way to go and the directions, I'm going to be using these garden sticks from the Dollar Tree. They're a whole bunch in a pack, so I only need 4. And I'm going to be painting them out. Now I was using just a mixture of colors. I used blue and green and black together, orange and black together, and green and black together. And then for that last piece, I added some white as well. Once they dried and I adjusted the colors to the way I wanted them, I just put the names of a bunch of different horror movies, so like names from a bunch of different horror movies on here, using some white chalk paint as well as like a chalk marker. My goodness, I can't talk. As well as red marker, red Sharpie. Just to get different effects. And then from 2 of the sticks I cut off the pointy parts to have just a little bit of a different sign. So I have written Elm Street, Camp Crystal Lake. So Elm Street from Nightmare on Elm Street, Camp Crystal Lake from Friday the 13th, Sleepy Hollow, and Salem. And I think these are super cute. I love Halloween and I love scary movies, so this will be super cute. And once my kids are older, they'll know where these are from. And once everything is glued and dried, I'll show you what it looks like. So here are all three pieces together. There's the boo sign, the trick or treat, and the horror sign. And love them so much. They're super cute. So I got my inspiration from Michael's, when it's the Little Shop of Horrors, but Michael's had this pot made up, and here it is. Check it out. So I was not interested in paying $89 for this, and I thought that this would be a really cute Halloween decoration, and my kiddo would really like it. The younger one will like it too because the older one likes it, but my older son is really into Halloween, so he'll love this. So what I did was I went to the Dollar Tree and I got these two footballs. Actually, I got one football because one I had at home. They're $1.25 each, and I just went ahead and I cut them almost to the about 3/4 of the way so that we could open the mouth. Then what I did was I put a little piece of like a Jenga block. Now you could do anything. You could do like a popsicle stick or anything like that. I just put it at the back of like the throat of the plant, and it's just to keep the mouth open. And then what I did was I painted the flowers and the inside. So I started off with the inside. The inside I painted using my acrylic black paint, and then the outside I painted using an acrylic green. Again, everything from the Dollar Tree, but I had all of these on hand. So just use a kitchen knife to cut these, and I'm going to play some music in the background and stop talking. So enjoy the spooky music and watch how I've done this. So I'm going to apologize for the messy work area, but I went ahead and I did like a craft-a-palooza where I did like a whole bunch of DIYs at once, so it is a little bit messy. So once these dried, I went ahead and I applied a little bit of red around the mouth just to give it an illusion that it's a mouth. And I just used the holiday red from Dollar Tree, which I had from, like, I purchased it a while ago. And then I will go ahead and glue some teeth. For the teeth, what I'm using is just some foam because I had it. You could use a little bit of cardboard if you have white cardboard. You could use paper. You could really use anything you wanted. This is a super cheap project, and you could technically use a lot of like stuff that you would normally throw out. So I'm really excited about this. So here I am going to attach the teeth. I also wound up adding just a little piece of a flower inside the mouth just to give it that little bit of extra design, I guess. I just like the way it looked. You don't have to do that. I did that with mine, and it was a piece of orchid that I had from a leftover project, and literally I used like one little petal of the, like one or two little petals of the plant. And I just use my hot glue gun to glue all of this stuff down. For the stem of the plant, again, you could use anything you want, but what I did was I just used 2 twigs from my backyard, so they were free, and I attached them to the bottom of the flower. And then I also went ahead and bought this tropical plant from the Dollar Tree, and I put it in my pot, and I put the stems in there, and there you have it. So now this project cost me a total of $3.75 because I had or no, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you, $2.50 because I had most of the stuff on hand. So the pot that I'm using and the like that little palm tree and the other tropical plant, they're plants that they're actually real plants that I had planted this summer. But you could use these tropical plants from the Dollar Tree. They're $1.25 each, so you would need 3 in total. So let's say you had to buy everything, 3, like the stems, so $3.75 for the tropical foliage, and then $2.50 for the balls. So you're looking at what, $6.25 for a total plus your pot. And again, you could use anything you wanted. Like, shop your house. You could use like a bucket or whatever and just paint it black. So for me, it cost me literally $2.50. If you had to buy a lot of the stuff, then like it would still cost you under $10. Beats the $90 for Michael. You made it to the very end of this video. Thank you so much for your patience and for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making all of these things. And I look forward to making many, many more Halloween DIYs in the next weeks to come. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell so you can see when I post new videos. Have a great day. Bye-bye.